The Chargers defense got absolutely lit up by the Lions on Sunday, and even with the Chargers offense finally starting to click, it wasn't enough to pull off the upset.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers together for 8 seasons now, but this is our 6th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you guys, as always, for making this your first listen, even after the toughest of losses. To make sure you guys never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, man, that was a tough one, and today we're going to have to get into another heartbreaking kind of loss, a shootout loss in this one against the Detroit Lions, 41-38, and it's just another failed test to be a good team, and in this case, the Chargers defense, after playing really well, really came back down to earth and struggled against the Lions. They got absolutely torched, and it sucks because it kind of spoiled it. The Chargers offense, specifically Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, absolutely balling out in this game. But this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. David, to me, it's as simple as what I just said. I mean, in this one, the Chargers lose 41-38 on a 41-yard field goal by Riley Patterson as time expired. And the Chargers came close, right? But it's just another game in the long list of games where the Chargers can't find a way to beat a good team. Now they fall to 4-5 on the season, and it just sucks that we're still having these same conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like this is another broken record situation. Every year, you know, the Chargers, you know, they play these good football teams. They come in, you know, that have some real balance and, you know, that have, you know, kind of an edge to them, and they're clearly one of those quality teams in the league that you're going to play up against. And, you know, you want to see where the Chargers are at. It's always, you know, can they do it this time? Can they beat a good team? Are they going to show up? And once again, you know, they showed up part of the way, but the other part was completely unacceptable and not good enough. And yet again, we find ourselves trying to convince ourselves that the Chargers are a good football team, but they always tend to show us that they're not.
Yeah, they always prove otherwise, right? You want to believe. And I think the hard thing is this. I mean, you know you have good teams still left on your schedule that you're going to have to play, so you just want them to show you that you do have a chance because you're going to be able to knock off some of those good teams, like, you know, the Ravens you have in a couple of weeks, or the Chiefs, or the Bills, or any of these front runners in the AFC. And I think that if the Chargers still, you know, have a chance to beat up on a soft part of their schedule, they'll stay around. But until they actually can pull a game like this off, how do you have any confidence they're anything more than just a scrappy team that's trying to, you know, dig themselves out of hole and get in a wild card game, which shouldn't be the standard for this team. And the Chargers defense, just as this team had a giant test ahead of them to show they could beat a good team, the Chargers defense had a huge test to trying to play well against a good offense. And it reminds me of the 4-game stretch at the end of 2022 where the Chargers were lights out. I think they gave up 11.5 points per game through that 4-game stretch last year from weeks 14 to 17, right? 4-game winning streak. Everything looks good. And then they play the Broncos, a team who had fired their coach in the season, and then just started getting torched, even with their starters in a game that their starters should have never played in, right? The last 2 weeks, the Chargers defense was dominant against the Bears and the Jets. They had a chance to show that, hey, it's not just the bad teams. It's not just the backup quarterbacks that we can be good against. We can actually play good on a week-to-week basis. They come out here again, David, and get absolutely roasted. I mean, they had absolutely no answers for what the Detroit offense was doing on Sunday.
Well, and all the things that they had done well in those past 2 games, get after the quarterback, get tons of sacks, get turnovers, stop the run. They didn't do any of those things in this football game. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't get off the field on 4th down. They couldn't do anything. They forced 1 punt in this football game. 1. That is how inept this Chargers defense was in this game. They could not do anything right. It was a disaster of a performance. And also, I think it just shows you what the defense is. I mean, they have the ability to shut out some bad teams, some bad offenses. But when it comes to a legit test with one of the clear-cut offenses in the NFL, what can you do against that team? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they've had the last two times. I mean, look back to the Kansas City Chiefs game of only a few weeks ago, right? Chargers played one of the top scoring offenses in the Cowboys the week before and only allowed 20 points. They come out against the Chiefs. They allowed 24 in the first half. They allowed 24 in the first half of this game as well. Another game in the first half, they allowed over 300 yards of offense. And for the game, 300 passing yards, 200 rushing yards. That's insane. Over 500.
Those are college numbers. Those are
college numbers. And it's like college numbers where, like, you know, Michigan's opening up their season against Youngstown State or something, right?
Exactly.
Like, those are where you see those kind of numbers. But I think, yeah, you said it. One forced punt on the day. That's just pitiful. I mean, truly. And then they allowed 7 different scoring drives. 7 scoring drives, 1 punt. It's not hard to see why the Chargers lost this game, and I think they have to be shouldering a lot of the blame for this one. Even with a slow start offensively, this Chargers offense, it's like, what did they do well in this game? Like, I mean, I don't think it would take you a long time to try to figure it out and try to come up with a silver lining for this, because explosive plays left and right, 41 points allowed, no sacks, no takeaways. You're going to lose that to most teams, right? But in this game, the pass rush couldn't get home, and the Chargers defense was absolutely cooked. They let the Lions do whatever they wanted. And we'll talk more about just how bad it was defensively. But the worst part of this game to me was you actually saw the Chargers offense start to click, man. Like, that was the really bad part of it, is like you actually saw an offense that can keep up with most of the offenses around the league, even with missing Gerald Everett for most of this game, and Mike Williams and Josh Palmer, obviously, who were on IR. Keenan Allen's in and out of this game in the second half, and they still were able to put up 5 straight touchdowns. I don't remember the last time that happened. I went trying to look, and it took way too long trying to figure out the last time the Chargers scored 5 straight touchdowns, David. And it sucks that gets spoiled by the defensive performance we saw.
Yeah, I mean, it goes for naught. I mean, and we were waiting for this type of performance, especially from Justin Herbert, right? I mean, I think after seeing, you know, him deal with the finger injury and it clearly affecting him, and just having some, you know, really bad performances, especially in the second half of games, I think one of the things that were really encouraged about was the fact that they were able to score in the second half, and not just score a few points. They scored 21 points in the second half of this football game. And so that was the type of performance that you expect week in and week out from this Chargers offense, and how potent it is and how great of a quarterback Justin Herbert was. But this performance, you know, no matter, you know, the bad start for Justin turned out to be a phenomenal start, but it just wasn't enough because the defense couldn't get even just one more stop. I mean, that's what it was. This was a back and forth game from, you know, the second or third, you know, series on. It was touchdown for touchdown for touchdown. Yeah. I mean, that's what, I mean, in a very exciting football game, but you can't win any football games if your defense doesn't get any stops. No matter how amazing your quarterback performs, no matter how many points he puts up or how many touchdowns Keenan Allen scores, it doesn't matter when your defense doesn't hold up their end of the bargain.
And they didn't, you know, to the utmost extent. Like, it just, they purely just didn't do enough defensively and offensively. I think one of the things that really stood apart to me was just after the beginning part of this game, how good of a game Kellen Moore called, right? Yeah. Think about the crunch time moments in this game. You have 4th and 1s where you end up getting a wide open touchdown to Quentin Johnston for his first career touchdown, right? And you also get that Keenan Allen 4th and 1, 38-yard touchdown.
That was beautiful.
In the fourth quarter, man. Like, what a call. What a time to bring that call out. Like, that's what we were talking about in the second half, because that's the biggest thing here with this offense is, like, not only did they look great and put up 38 points, they scored a touchdown on every single drive in the second half. We've been asking and begging this team to finally be able to put up consistent points, be able to put up points in the second half, like we were promised when Kellen Moore took over as offensive coordinator, right? Highest score, third quarter scoring team in the NFL with the Cowboys. Now we saw a little bit of that, right? Like, that is what's nice to see is, okay, it gives you a little bit of hope. And especially the reason is because Justin Herbert looked awesome. And that's the one thing we haven't talked about. Justin Herbert was slinging the ball all over the place in this one. Finally looked like Justin Herbert. Had a really bad pick in the beginning and then went out and just absolutely set fire to everything in his path for the rest of the game. So we're going to talk about that and why Keenan Allen better not play for any other team in his career other than the Chargers, because that dude is a Charger through and through. He's one of the only good things about this franchise week in and week out. So we got to talk about those guys' performances coming up right after this. First, though, I do need to tell you guys about Gametime, and Gametime is the ticketing app where David just got his tickets to Lambeau Field next week to hopefully watch the Chargers beat up on the Packers. I don't know if they're a good team, right? The Chargers should be able to win that one. But with Game Time, the best part about it is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer last-minute deals and the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you're going to have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. The Game Time guarantee, the way I can guarantee you're getting the best price is this. With the Game Time guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find the same seat in the same row and wherever you're getting your tickets from. You know you're getting the best prices. You're going to be going to the events anyways. Make sure to get the Game Time app because it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, David. Well, I want to talk about the Chargers offense because it just feels like it would be too much to try to wait till segment 3 to talk about what Justin Herbert did in this game after what looked like another, brutal start. Like it looked like this game was going to turn into a blowout. That is, that's just what it looked like for a lot of this. And instead, the Chargers offense scored and just kept scoring. But it started after Justin Herbert threw a really bad pick. Like he was trying to throw the ball away. Didn't get enough on it. The Chargers offense had run the ball on 3 straight first downs on every drive to start the game, which was just incredibly frustrating to watch. But they ran a play action that nobody fell for. Justin Herbert had to throw a ball off his back feet, didn't get out of the pocket, ends up being an intentional grounding and like an interception. It was really, really bad. But he throws an interception. After that, he was absolutely lights out. David, I'm going to need you to come off mute and tell me what you thought of Justin Herbert's performance, man, because I think if there's one thing that gives you some hope for this season, it's that Justin Herbert was awesome. And if Justin Herbert looks like he did on Sunday, the Chargers are still going to win a few more games this season for sure.
Yeah, Justin Herbert was in absolutely rare form in this game. After the beginning, obviously you talked about it, the bad interception, but after that, he snapped out of that quick, and he snapped into some intense focus because no matter where Keenan Allen was, Justin Herbert was able to find him. But it wasn't just Keenan. I mean, he was able to get Jalen Guyton involved. He was able to get a couple of other guys the football. If you were open, like Quentin Johnson, if you were open in this football game, Justin Herbert was going to find you. And he showed his trademark ability to escape the pocket. He also, was able to run and extend plays and throw on the run. And you just saw the missiles, just left, right, and sideways today. I mean, just some of the most beautiful throws that, you expect from Justin Herbert. That's just the type of performance, that he has kind of set for himself because he has been so historically great through the first couple of years of his NFL career. This was more of a vintage Justin Herbert performance, and that, I think, was encouraging for me to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that had the throws on both of the 4th down conversions, right, that we're talking about. The Chargers had 3 overall for the day, but it was the lasers. It was the dimes. It was the incredible Justin Herbert kind of patented throws that we saw today. And I don't think, it's a coincidence that in this game, on that broken left middle finger, right, there was no more splint on it. It was just tape. Like, it was just a much less clunky kind of thing he had on his left hand in this one. It seemed like that was not nearly bothering him as much. But overall, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, has the 1 interception, passer rating 114.9, QBR 83.6. That's kind of the Justin Herbert we've been, accustomed to and maybe got spoiled by. But a few throws individually stood out to me. I mean, the Keenan Allen 29-yarder against really, really good coverage. Keenan Allen runs a good route. Justin Herbert throws it on a dime with putting it just exactly where it needed to be for the Chargers to actually get some life in this game. That was a huge play, Keenan Allen's first touchdown. Then threaded the needle to Jalen Guyton on an 18-yard touchdown where there wasn't really any separation. He had a safety that was coming in high who just got past the outstretched fingers of the safety.
Yeah, that was Justin Herbert throwing Jalen Guyton open. That's what that was.
Yeah, and I mean, the Chargers offensive line deserves credit for the pass blocking because they gave him enough time to be able to do that. The Chargers give him that time, they'll be okay, right? Like, in the times that it wasn't, he was navigating the pocket well. The one that I would want to point out too is they escaped the rush, ended up finding Quentin Johnston for a big gain after Quentin had a couple bounce off of his hands, truthfully, right?
Yeah.
He ends up rolling.
One of
out,
them that would have been a
escapes-
long touchdown too.
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, escaped the pocket, ended up just full sprint to the sideline, getting chased down by Aiden Hutchinson, right, and uncorks one 20-plus yards down the field into the waiting arms of Quentin Johnson, then ended up setting up a touchdown, right? So it was just awesome. But let's talk about Keenan Allen, David. It wasn't quite as big as the Minnesota Vikings game where it was just get the ball out of your hand, get it to Keenan Allen. But the part that makes this different is Keenan Allen hurt his shoulder, and like what happens with that and what we find out about that in these next couple of days is going to bear a huge consequence on what this season ends up looking like offensively. He is their offense in the passing game right now. 11 catches, 175 yards, goes out of the game, goes into the locker room, comes back into the game, catches a 38-yard touchdown, gets 2 touchdowns on the day. What a performance by Keenan Allen, David. Vintage for, the definite, like he looked like a Hall of Fame receiver. He has looked like a Hall of Fame receiver this year. Like this game is the perfect embodiment of that, toughing it out and putting up the performance he did.
It's unreal to watch him, man. I mean, it's such a pleasure. It's such an honor. And I think we need to appreciate Keenan Allen for what he is capable of doing. Like, this is not a receiver that's in the 4th or 5th year of his career. This is year 11 for Keenan Allen, okay? And he is still shredding defensive backs. Nobody can cover this guy. It does not matter. Doesn't matter who you put in front of him. He is getting open, and he's getting open in the biggest of moments. 9 of the Chargers' 21 first downs in this game came courtesy of Keenan Allen. That is what he is at his peak, at his mecca. That is what Keenan Allen does. On 3rd down, he is absolutely money. And it wasn't just that. I mean, Keenan Allen was making the big plays. He now has 6 touchdowns. He's only 2 away from his career high. I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, if he stays healthy, if he is healthy, God, please let Keenan Allen be healthy. He is going to shatter that because he's been fantastic. I mean, this is his 3rd 100-yard game and his 2nd of 175 or more this season. Keenan Allen has been such a delight to watch.
Yeah, the only bad thing is I undersold him on my bold predictions last week. I think I had 12 for 130 yards. Back-to-back bold predictions coming true, but he absolutely smashed that. I mean, God, dude, like 11 catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His second 175-plus yard performance of the season. Keenan Allen, take a bow, man. I mean, this Chargers team wouldn't be even having a chance in this game if it weren't for what he was able to do. So the Chargers offense, a lot of good things. Quentin Johnson gets his first career touchdown, right? Bounces back after a couple, drops that ended up being defensive pass interferences anyways. 3 defensive pass interferences that he,
generated.
Yeah, exactly. And Jalen Guyton gets in for a touchdown after, missing more than a season's worth of time. So, like, it was great to see those things. But as far as the downside offensively, I think the things you would point to, David, and the kind of concerns you have going forward, a slow start in the game and run game issues. I mean, when you look at the game, they kind of dug themselves a hole in the first 4 drives. They only come away with 3 points, 2 3-and-outs, and an interception in there. Only 3 of those points. And the running the ball in between the tackles on 1st down was what got to me. 1 yard, 3 yards, and 2 yards were how the Chargers started their first 3 offensive drives. Once they got away with that, it seems everything kind of started clicking, and then just another kind of subpar game from this Chargers rushing attack, which still feels non-existent for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line is not really opening up very many holes. I mean, it's been a very, very difficult time. And
Chargers
also
got dominated in the line of scrimmage in this game overall.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. I mean, they did not impose their will at all. I mean, it was especially noticeable in the first half. I mean, too many 0, 1, 2 yard runs on early downs, and it was just crippling. I mean, it's just something that the Chargers offense had to overcome. It was not enhancing the offense. I mean, it just was, it was not good enough. At least in the second half, they got a couple of chunk runs here and there. They were at least able to, get something positive, but overall, I mean, it's just still a major, major problem. And, Justin Herbert was able to, put on his cape and really, perform at an exceptional level. Carry the offense, but you just can't expect that every single week. And this run offense, it continues to be one of the biggest problems that the Chargers offense has yet to solve.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take away Justin Herbert's sneaks, it's 25 carries for 97 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, right? A lot of that is bogged down by the 6 attempts they had inside the 1 yard line, right, where they still couldn't get into the end zone until they took the 8th play of that goal line stand ends up being the Quentin Johnston touchdown, but that embodies it, right?
That was a beautiful play call, by the way. I got to throw that in there.
Insane.
Just absolutely
yeah, like I said before,
down.
both of those 4th and 1 play calls by Kellen Moore are what kept the Chargers in this game. Beautiful calls, beautiful plays by Justin Herbert. But that's very symbolic of the Chargers' rushing game problems as a whole, right?
Yeah.
You had 6 carries like inside the 2-3 yard line, and you don't get in on any of them, right? They got physically out-muscled in this game, and that really showed up. The slow start, the running game, but still, I think offensively, this team plays like this, they're going to be in every game, and we'll have at least a chance to be able to knock off some of these good teams left on their schedule. The problem is, how can you have a ton of faith the Chargers defense is going to do that right now? So we're going to talk about all of the explosive plays they allowed right after the Chargers would come back and tie the game. All the explosive plays, how much of this falls on Brandon Staley and the game plan they had going into this game. We're getting to that coming up after this. First, though, I needed to tell you guys about our friends at FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than now. FanDuel last week had the Detroit Lions as a 3-point favorite. If only we knew how right they were going to be, right? But I think the thing about FanDuel that makes them and separates them from everyone else is just all of the different promotions and fun ways they have for you to bet on a game, including the same game parlay. I like to go anytime touchdown for Chargers players. Keenan Allen is becoming a lock for that. Austin Eckler is always a lock for that. And right now, the Chargers are opening up as 3-point favorites next week, according to FanDuel, against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. David will be attending. You saw that face he made there. Man, the Chargers must win that upcoming game. But make sure you guys, if you're going to be betting, do it with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season in style. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. David, we talked about the nice parts of this game with the Chargers offense, because I do think the Chargers offense did figure some things out in this one against Detroit. But it would be hard to say that about the Chargers defense, who got absolutely torched in this one for 41 points. But that's just on today's show. We will be back with you guys the rest of the week, as we always are. And make sure to check out NFL Kickoff Live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with Tanitra Batiste, Jarvis Davis, and Kyle Krabs, getting insight from all of the hosts of them around the league. The only way that you can get local experts covering every single team to get you ready for whatever bets you're making with FanDuel, whatever you want to do with your fantasy team, whatever you want to do, you can get all of the insight on Locked On NFL Kickoff Live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So, the Chargers defense, David. This was from Sheil Kapadia. The Lions put up the 3rd best offensive performance this year by EPA. The Chargers offense had the 4th best.
The 3rd?
So, yeah, well, I mean,
you have a lot worse than that.
I mean, the Dolphins did put up 70 in a game. So,
fair point.
Probably ahead
hard
of
to
that.
remember that right now, honestly.
But it is wild that the Chargers had the 4th best, EPA game, expected points added game this season offensively, and they lost that game because the Chargers defense had the 3rd worst performance we've seen by those measures this season against the Lions offense. To me, David, it just, again, everything kind of looked too easy. I mean, nothing was good. The run defense back down to earth, 31 carries, 200 yards. Chargers had multiple chances, especially late in that game. I mean, the one that really stuck in my craw, I'll tell you this, 3rd and 15, game on the line. Lions are not in field goal range. You don't have to just stop them from getting a first down. After the Lions had already gone for it 4 times in that game, you have to not only get the stop, but get the stop to where they're not going to want to have to try to go for that on 4th down. The Chargers end up allowing 13 yards on 3rd and 15. They make it close. And then on 4th and 2, you have, softer zone coverage. The pass rush can't get home. Kenneth Murray lets the tight end run right in front of his face and doesn't, cover him because it's not technically in his zone, doesn't try to carry him. And then the Chargers end up giving it up, and then, 3 kneel downs in the game-winning field goal. But, that was just one of the many, many issues we saw from this Chargers defense. That's just the one that kind of hurt the most because they kept having chances to kind of not reverse their performance, but to at least kind of have some, things to kind of say, hey, at least we got the stop at the end to give the Chargers offense a chance. The Chargers offense, after scoring 5 straight touchdowns, never got that chance.
Nope. Yeah, that's all you wanted to do was give the ball back to Justin Herbert in that offense that at that point was humming. They were unstoppable. They could do anything they wanted. They were just praying for another opportunity, but that didn't happen. The defense, and like they didn't do all day. They didn't get to stop. I think the 4th down that really angered me the most was the 4th and 5 where they ran the ball and they converted that one. I wanted
Total
to
disrespect.
throw something through my very, very expensive Samsung TV.
That's so
Thankfully, I did
disrespectful to
not.
them
I didn't
all.
have anything that I could throw at my TV at the moment. I do that for very good reason. But that was very, very frustrating. This whole game defensively was very frustrating because it looked like the Lions were playing Madden against a 5-year-old kid. I mean, that's basically what it looked like because
What was the game
they
plan?
did. What I don't know. I do not know what the game plan, whatever it was, Daniel, was not good enough. They did not game plan or scheme to stop anybody. Amon-Ra St. Brown went crazy. Another number one wide receiver that goes off against the Chargers. They're both the running backs, basically went for 100. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
both averaged over 5.5 yards per carry. One of them
David
averaged
Montgomery
9.7.
9.7 yards per carry. Obviously, with a 75-yard touchdown run in there that he tight roped
But
against
that's
the
the
sideline.
regression.
But
yeah, like we saw them get so much better. Like last year was 6 straight games along a 40+ yard rush or a 40-yard touchdown. Like we saw that get so much better. And then in this game, you get up a 75-yard rushing touchdown. And the reason I say what's the game plan is just like it's the same thing as the Chiefs, where you come out and you have players in the locker room after the game saying, like, why do we play so much zone? And then you have old clips of Brandon Staley saying, why do we don't put air in the coverage versus the Chiefs offense or good offenses? You made it way too easy for Jared Goff. I mean, he made some good throws and played really, really well in this game.
did.
I don't want to take away from that, right? But there was a
Yeah.
ton of very, very open throwing windows as well. And this is from Bridget Condon. The Khalil Mack says they prepared as a defense for certain things, and the Lions did the opposite. In quotes, 500 yards, that's not acceptable. But not only that, the rushing yards is what pissed me off the most. It's just hard to even talk about it. I'm not going to say he was trying to throw Brandon Staley under the bus because Bridget Condon, went out of her way to say that he wasn't trying to do that.
yeah.
But man, it's hard to know what the game plan was. And with the explosive plays they allowed, like it felt like the Lions knew exactly what to do and what buttons to push all day.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Jared Goff was getting, really switching them, getting them in and out of bad plays and into good plays. And, they really had great protection. The Chargers got no pass rush whatsoever in this game. 0 sacks. Didn't even seem like they got even close to him. I mean, they whatever they wanted to do, whether it was throwing the ball, running the ball, it was gigantic windows, gigantic running lanes, the bad forced missed tackles. I mean, the Chargers did not do anything positive in this football game on the defensive side. It was very frustrating to watch, very annoying to watch, and it just makes you feel like, the last 2 games against those opponents was a complete fluke because once they go up against a competent offense, they get absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, and this is what absolutely drove me nuts, right? Immediately giving up big plays after touchdowns. Chargers cut the lead to 7 in the first half. Next drive by the Lions offense, 75-yard rushing touchdown. Chargers tie the game. Defense ends up giving up a 35-yard rush to Jahmyr Gibbs that sets up a touchdown after that. The Chargers tied the game at 24-24. They give up a 33-yard pass and a 20-yard pass on back-to-back plays to Amon-Ra St. Brown that ends in a touchdown. Chargers tied the game at 31-31. On third down, the Chargers sell out against the run, give up an easy 35-yard touchdown over the top with nobody covering the tight end. And finally, with the game really on the line, the Chargers in the fourth quarter go tie the game at 38. The Chargers have a chance. The Chargers defense needs one stop. Yes, those plays on 3rd and 15 were bad. 4th down play, bad. It doesn't start when the first play of the Lions' game-winning drive, the Lions catch the defense totally off guard, and you have a wide receiver sitting wide open by himself for a 41-yard completion that instantly puts him into field goal range. You can't win like that. It's just, and to be caught off guard so many times, right? Like, double-digit explosive plays given up. I just don't know what the excuse is. Like, Brandon Staley said it. He said he has to be better. He didn't get them prepared well enough, right? All of those things. He said the right things. And what he also said, too, was, hey, the run game sucked, right? The run defense sucked, and we couldn't get him into the pass rushing situations. And the Lions were getting the ball out quick. Yeah. But they not too totally, the defense still has to get home. On the times he holds it, you have to find a way to win those matchups. They played a team with a good offensive line. As soon as the offensive line was shutting down the Chargers pass rush, the Chargers had nothing for them. The linebackers got absolutely exposed. The secondary got exposed. The run defense got exposed. There's no silver linings for the Chargers defense in this game. If the defense plays like this for the rest of the season, they can have a better showing than they did in this one against a good team. The Chargers aren't making the playoffs. They're not sniffing it, right? They might not even get to 7 or 8 wins this season if they can't figure that out, because that's how bad it was defensively in this game. Great offense. Potentially future head coach Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator for the Lions on the other side. I don't care. be better, right?
Yeah.
Be better. Have an average game. Hold them to 24. Hold them to 27. Give your offense a chance. They scored 38 and you lost. Not good enough. And I'm, it's sickening.
Unacceptable.
And I feel bad for Chargers fans who have to watch this and put up with this. This team still has a chance. They're still right in the thick of it. But unless they can actually show that things are changing, it's kind of just an illusion. And that's kind of just what it feels like it is at this point. But that's going to wrap things up for today's show. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking buy or sell the biggest Chargers overreactions and storylines, including Justin Herbert feels fully back. Are we ready to buy that now? Because I think I am, because he looked really, really awesome on Sunday. So make sure you guys are back here for that by following or subscribing to the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listening wherever you get your podcast from. You can also find the show every single day on our social media. You can find us on Twitter at LockedOnLAC, or me on Twitter at DanTalkSports, and David Drogemeyer at DroTalkSD. You can also find us at Locked On Chargers on Instagram and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. Thank you for letting us vent with you. Thank you for joining us even after the tough losses. A lot that this team can do to get better. Tomorrow we'll have some more information. We'll see what happens, but I can't wait to be talking with you guys about how the Chargers can potentially get this thing going again. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.